Like
Okay, we are live.
technical errors always happen. Okay, are you on? How many of you are on? I will check with my administrator. Are you on?
One.
Technical error made us 3 people. Finally, we're getting a bit, of people coming in. So please wait a while. Technical issues earlier. Our Wi-Fi is down. It was really slow, and we tried to get in, but we couldn't. So we are about 10 minutes late. I apologize. All right, but we got something for you for this shortage of 10 minutes. Just listen up to the content that we have for you today that we prepared. Thanks to the team. Thanks to everyone. We will just start. All right, are we ready to go? Okay, so technical issue caused a bit of stress for me earlier. I'm usually punctual. For people who knows me, I'm very punctual, and I hate to be late. So 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes. Now we are 10 minutes late, and we are already, into 7:10 of our talk, and this is only a 1 hour talk. And people who knows me know that I can speak for 3 hours non-stop or even longer. So to bear with me, let me just quickly dive in. Technical issues give me a lot of stress. So today we'll be talking about stress. Okay, are you ready? I think all of you know what stress is, and stress is a very common word we hear, especially during this period. This period of lockdown, of COVID, of recession. Everyone is feeling a bit stressed. We as well, business owners, even people who work in offices, who work as a staff, who is an employee, is also feeling a lot of stress. The problem is because we do not know what the future holds for us. Maybe you can soften a little bit of the music. Thanks, Alicia. Okay, so stress. Stress is a common thing, and we all know that. So why not today, let me go through the scientific research on what stress is. How our body works when there's stress. So, first of all, whenever there's stress, whenever we feel we are under the weather, or we feel that we are stressed out from anything, could it be relationship problems, work problems, cash flow problems, what we do straight away is our body or our adrenal glands, which is just above our kidney, releases something called the cortisol. So cortisol is released. So once cortisol is released to help us deal with stress, what do? We get a sudden urge of energy, a sudden urge of hype, and we get, like animals, we fight or flight. That means we suddenly feel very hyped up. We can do a lot of things during that period. We can solve problems during that period. Maybe music a bit softer, Alicia. Yeah, just all the way down. Thanks. So, no music. Okay, so when we have stress, our scientific research was cortisol is released. A lot of cortisol is released from our adrenal glands. And this cortisol, once it's released, we can fight with stress. Is it good? Yes, it's good.
Yes.
But when stress is prolonged, what happens? Okay, we have our lymphatic system. Our lymphatic system cell numbers start to decrease. So when stress is there, our cortisol level is high. Okay, just take it as easy. We are not in a biology class. So take it as adrenal glands, which is above your kidney. Okay, the right and the left ones, releases cortisol. Okay, when it releases cortisol, what happens? It's alright, it's good, but in a prolonged state, the lymphatic system or the lymphatic cell numbers, the lymphocyte cell numbers start to decrease. And with this decrease of lymphocyte cell numbers, lymphocyte cells, just treat it as your immune cell system. So immune cell system, so sorry, yeah, please, yeah, thanks. The lymphocyte cell numbers, when it's decreased, okay, what we had is when the lymphocyte cell numbers decrease, we tend to have bacteria and viruses attacking us. Do you know why we get sick? Because the immune cells, which is the lymphocyte cells, start to decrease. And with this decrease of lymphocyte cell numbers, we tend to have bacteria, fungi, viruses attacking us and get sick. And lymphocyte cells are the cells, immune cells, that help to battle cancer. So, during a long period of stress, especially when we have the adrenal glands producing cortisol and a very long period of time, what happens? We get to a stage called adrenal fatigue. So at first we feel that it's good to have a bit of cortisol level rising very high. But once it's prolonged, when we feel adrenal fatigue, we can't even do the simplest task, like waking up, like going to work. We feel tired, we feel fatigued. The cortisol is trying to release itself more and more, but it doesn't even help in our daily tasks. And is this bad? Yes, of course. Cortisol is good, but once it's released for a long period of time, it's bad. So why am I telling this whole scientific research on how our body reacts to stress? It's because we could find techniques and methods to cope with it. So now let's look at the animal kingdom and the human kingdom. Or shall I put it, the animals and the humans. Okay, imagine, oh, thank you, Felicia. Imagine a zebra is running. When it sees danger, like a lion coming to eat the zebra, it runs really fast with the cortisol level shooting up and the adrenal glands just shooting up the cortisol level, so it's motivated and it runs really fast, escapes from the lion, from being eaten. And that's only probably a few minutes or a few split seconds. But what happens if the lion eats up the zebra? And he's dead. So is there any logic? Is there any connection between this? Yes. In the animal kingdom, stress level is only for a short period of time, for a certain amount of time. Meaning, if the zebra is able to escape from the lion, from being captured or from being eaten, then the zebra is away from the danger. So once it's away from the danger, the cortisol level starts to drop back to a norm. And when it drops back, that's where we can release and relax and reduce our stress. So it's only a split second or a few minutes where the lion chases the zebra from being eaten. But what about humans? What about us? We do have deadlines. We do have to worry about our cash flow, our bills, sometimes even whether during this economic period or this downturn, this recession period, are we able to keep to our jobs? Are we able to maintain our jobs to be able to provide for the family or to pay for our lifestyle? We have constant stress. Our stress might not be being eaten up, which is really bad because we die. It's not that sort of stress, but it's constant, it's ongoing, and it doesn't stop. So imagine your deadlines, your boss keeps giving you more and more deadlines. Like, after you finish this project deadline, there's another project, and another deadline will come. That's what Felicia is feeling all the time. So we have constant stress. And prolonged stress, as I mentioned earlier, will lead to adrenal fatigue. And adrenal fatigue, in the long run, will not be able to sustain itself, and we can't even wake up and do our daily tasks. So is this bad? Yes. Let me give you an example of human stress. Imagine I was working I was in the Singapore Press Holdings in the year 2009 when I joined them. That was the time during the global economic crisis. The subprime mortgage and all this in the US when the bubble burst. It was during that period where I started my Singapore Press Holdings job. And then I was in the business development sales department where I need to bring in money for the company. For a full year, I wasn't able to bring in much money because the recession is apparent. the economy was bad. We are all stuck with asking from clients a certain budget, but they're not even able to pull up for their overheads, for their own rental, and for their own manpower and staffing. And when we are stuck, they do not want to pump in more money for marketing. So what did I feel? I was feeling constant stress for a year. It's exactly a year, 2 months. You know, every week, my boss will sit us down with a weekly sales session, with a weekly meeting and ask where's our pipelines, are we able to grow this business unit, are we able to get the revenue? No, we were being stressed, and my boss at that time, she was a little taking it too much on herself. She's a responsible boss, but she took it too much on her own, and she will blame us even during our free times, like during our lunch break, you know, our break from work. She will still call, she will still text and pressure us to give the results. And the worst ever was, the company has just let go a staff by the name of, let's put a non-fictional name, Adam. So she can look at me and say, Kelvin, you're quite similar to Adam. What happens? I feel a lot of fear. At that time, I felt a lot of fear. It's like as though I will be let go by the company because she said that I'm very similar to Adam. So that moment or that constant stress got me very demoralized. I could not even go for meetings. I could not even meet clients. And that's for a long period of time. It's for 1 year plus. And that actually hurts my health. I have the fast heart rate during that period. I do not know how to release stress. We've taken it 10 years from there to where we are now in 2020. I will tell my past self to do a few things I'm going to share later. Okay? Are we on time? Yes, so sorry we were 10 minutes late, but we are just not even halfway through the talk. Okay, there are so many things I would love to share and hopefully come back for more talks because we will share in-depth knowledge on other things that we have researched. So, any questions so far? I can't hear you.
If they have questions, they can comment in the live chat button.
Okay, if you have questions, you can comment in the live chat button.
Box,
At the bottom of the.
So if you are using a laptop, the chat will be on the left side of your screen. If you are using a mobile to view, there's a live chat button at the bottom of the video. So just click on the video, you will be able to comment and ask questions.
Yeah, I hope you can hear that, even though you can't see her face. Okay, but some of you might know Felicia already. Alright, so moving on. This constant stress I had as an employee, whether I would be let go by the company during recession, whether I can deliver my results, whether I can even stay in the company, it's something I felt very strongly, and at that time, I do not have much techniques or many techniques to be able to cope with the stress I was going through. Then fast forward, so a couple of years later, when I'm my own boss, when I have to face with constant pressure of overhead costs increasing, we expanded, we opened many centers, we have high overheads of staffing, we have high overheads of teachers, and all this is weighing on my mind every week. And how did I cope with it? It's not always rosy. There were times where our margin is good, but sometimes when we didn't meet the mark, our balance or our remaining 2 months or 3 months of budgeting cannot match the overhead costs. So this is stress and pressure that humans have to go through. So remember what I did earlier with the lion and the zebra? The animal stress is that split second or that few minutes and it's over. But it's life and death. So it's life-threatening. The human stress, it's not life-threatening, but it's constant. And cortisol level being so high at a constant rate for many months or even years might lead to adrenal fatigue. And this will cause a lot of problems. So we all know what physical stress is, and we know some ways to cope with stress. But if you look at a scientific approach to managing stress, I hope it helps. Okay? So now, any questions so far?
No.
No? Okay. What are some of the stress areas that we are focusing for today? Let me just point out 4. You can see on the screen behind, there's physical stress, there's dietary stress, there's emotional stress, and mental stress. Okay, so these are the 4 we picked up for today. Okay, if there are more, please comment. Please give us feedback, we can research on it and give you more techniques on how to solve it or how to cope with stress. Okay, so first of all, let's look at the very first stress. What is it?
Dietary.
Dietary stress. Okay, as you can see, Uncle Kelvin or Uncle Kelvin is gaining weight at an area which I don't like it to gain weight. Okay? And we are always complaining on this, especially after the lockdown period, where we can't go out, we are always lying on our bed watching our favorite Netflix show. And what happens? We gain weight at areas where we don't want to have abundant weight. Okay? So, if you're feeling the same as me, let's look at some of the ways to cope with dietary stress. Okay, well, welcoming Sue back in the office. She's working so late. She has work-life balance, you know, Sue. Please go back and have your family dinner.
Let's go.
Okay, so sorry.
Bye, Kelvin.
Hey, back to this. Alright, so very quickly, dietary stress. You know, if you eat a lot of processed food, if you like to have a lot of sweets, or even worse, smoke, or even drink alcohol. Okay, excessive drinking, binge eating. All this will lead to dietary stress. If your diet do not contain vegetables or fruits, what happens next? You may lose fiber, and it will cause also the body system feeling that, hey, I need to fight stress in this area, in this dietary area. Cortisol is released again. It's going at high speed, trying to cope with all the unwanted, unprocessed food that's going into your body. And what happens? From there, you might be feeling a bit lethargic, you might be feeling a bit tired, you might be feeling after a night of partying or binge drinking, you might feel that the next day you want to go back to work. It's not going to help you at all. It's just going to be like, oh, can I take a day off from my office? And imagine taking a day off at this period during the recession or during economic crisis. Your boss will then look back and review your performance and say, oh, is this a good staff? Am I going to take this staff for long term? Or am I going to promote him when promotion comes? Or bonuses and everything. So again, that leads to a lot of stress. So have you all felt that before, or is it just me? I think it's general. You know, a lot of us are feeling this. Okay, the wrong diet. We always tell ourselves to keep to the best diet, to eat more fruits, vegetables, don't have too much processed food, and and things like that. But are we doing it? Why not? A technique that I've researched is why not start progressively? Start with one day having less sugar. For example, if you want to, like for me, I want to lose this belly. So I'll tell myself, one day in a week, I'll take less sugar. Okay? And then, progressively, I will then improve or step up by having 2 days less sugar. Or, in months to come, more days, like 3 days less sugar. Or completely no sugar. Addiction is another thing, like binge drinking, smoking. But this I will cover in the next SLP talk. Okay? So for today, we just start by progressively having a day to stop or limit ourselves from taking what we know is excessive. Okay, shall we do that? Promise? With a big no? Okay, so if you want, just start with one day in terms of if you want to really start exercising, just start 1 day a week. Even though you read from health magazines that it should be 5 days a week or 3 days a week. No. Start something small, something achievable first. So 1 day a week, start your exercise. Maybe half an hour, 20 minutes is good enough. Alright? So do it progressively. So that's for dietary. Any questions so far? Any questions so far? I can't hear you. No? Okay, even looking at things like a certain diet that you want to start on, like your partner, Lucas always like to be on the keto diet. So start with the keto diet only just half a day. Do not have to start it totally, completely in your full diet. So start something progressively. Alright? So next, we have another stressor, another killer, which is the physical stress. Okay, physical stress is something which we all are. Oh, what's that? Okay, Alicia passed me something. Okay, this is like a red balloon. Okay? This is like a red blood vessel. Remember, today is about scientific ways of curbing stress. So treat this like the red blood vessel. Okay, and then you turn it around. Stay close on it. So, physical stress, what happens? When you have to do a lot of physical work, like when you are in areas like labor, like you have to really move things in your company, or you have to carry heavy items, objects, or even for myself, whenever I'm in the office, I'm always moving really fast and talking to people really fast. And that actually pumps up my adrenaline, which leads to that adrenaline reducing high cortisol level, which also increases stress levels. And what happens when I am running around the office trying to solve all the problems, talking to the staff really fast? It will, if in the long run, in the short run, it's okay. Things get done fast and we get the results. But can I sustain it for a long run? Remember what I mentioned earlier, the adrenal fatigue? No way can you last for a long period of time. So what happens when you're moving around really fast, you have a lot of things to do, you're carrying heavy weights and all this? What you need to do is start to take a breather. You take 5 minutes break. Take 10 minutes break during your activities. Sit down and probably just breathe and don't think about work. Or even for myself, I talk really quick. I talk really fast to my staff or to my people or to the people I know. I start to talk a little slower. Try to take your pace. Try to slow down half step of your pace. Try to do that. Even for life that is very sedentary, meaning you do nothing. Your job requires you not to do any moving around of heavy objects. You're just always sitting on your desk doing your work, like our dear Sue and Felicia. They're always on their desk doing the work. Even that will cause stress. You know why? That's the purpose of this red blood vessel. You know, when you rest, your blood vessel starts to go knots. Can you see this? Knots. Can you see it, Sue? Knots. She's afraid that the balloon will burst. Okay, so all these knots are going to be created in your blood vessel. And are these knots good? No. It shortens the length of your muscles. And what happens from here on? We tend to have aches. We tend to have pain. And when we have pain, again, the cortisol level increases and rises up to deal with all this pain.
So what happens when cortisol level is at a long-term high for long periods of time? You get stressed, you get pain. And when that happens, it will hurt your body even more. Okay, it will lead to consequences which you don't want that to happen to you. So, in order even to release all these stresses, even when you're in front of the computer doing your computer work all day long and you're not carrying any heavy objects, you need to start to stretch. And that's one thing I learned really hard during the lockdown period. You know why? I was diagnosed with having a slip disc during the lockdown period. And when I went to the doctors or to the chiropractician told me that, did you get into a major injury? I said, I had a fall when I was studying in Australia. I went up to the mountains to do some snowboarding, and then I had a fall. And that was the last I know I hurt my back or my bottom area or my lower back. And after that, it never occurs again. I do feel a little bit of pain here and there. They said that, how did you manage to get a slip disc, not doing any major activity that injure your back? I said, I don't know. So then he asked, what's your lifestyle like? I said, because of the lockdown, I don't walk around that much. I sleep on my bed. Probably the position I sleep in is not a good position. I sit on my chair to do my Zoom meetings. I start to watch a lot of TV. I start now to move around. And because of that, just having a sedentary lifestyle, I get all these knots and it starts to hurt. And my structure also starts to win over time. It means as I get older, the structure starts to not be so proper. So because of that, I felt a pain, and that pain prolonged. And when I went to the doctors to get an X-ray done, I realized that I had sleep disc. So mine was accumulated. It was probably because in the past where I do my push-ups, my maintenance of my physique and all this, I was always just going straight to doing it. Meaning if I go for jogs and all this, I would just immediately wear my sports shoe and jog. I forgot the one very important thing, which is stretching and making sure that I do a lot of pre-exercises before I do the main exercise. Stretching, and that's one thing that I learned really badly during the lockdown, during the COVID period. Because after being diagnosed for having slip disc, immediately I started stretching nearly every day for about 15 minutes, even in my car. When I go into my car for a long drive for about 20 minutes, when I get out, I can't even stand up like a proper young guy, I stand up like an old man. It's like my friend who sits in the car, my colleagues who sit in the car will say, hey, you need a clutches? You need a set of clutches? You look like an old man coming out of a nice car. So this is what happens. I don't stretch that much. After that, my mom gave me a foam roller. Okay, do we have a foam roller to show what is it? Okay, this is a smaller version. The one I had at home is really big. So what I do is, I will lie on it. I'll start to stretch my back. They even have a tennis ball for me. So with this tennis ball, what I do is, you can see, I have to move this. Okay, I start to put this ball right at the area where it's giving me stress. I start to massage it. Massaging it. Sometimes you can go to a masseuse to massage the area just to release the tension of it. The knots that I showed you from the red blood vessel balloon earlier. Right, so these are some of the techniques or some of the things that we can do. It's simple, but we tend to forget. Thanks, Felicia. So we tend to forget all these simple things. So, any questions? Anything so far you'd like to know? Please comment, because we can put that in our talks in future. We can dive in there and research more. Yes.
We have one question.
We have a question.
Yes,
Okay.
from Jobez.
Okay.
So Jobez asks, can we become more stressed if we diet?
Can we become more stressed if we diet? It really depends what diet you're going through and what's the objective of your diet.
Cognitive adaptation.
Yeah, so if we are going through a diet, that should be Felicia's question, you know. Felicia is also always asking about it. If you were to go for a diet and if the diet is for short-term basis, it might be stressful because you're not used to it. Just like, you know, anything we do, we must have a goal, we must have a plan for it, what we want to achieve. And a lot of times, depending on the diet that you're going through, most of the good diets that we should embark on will give us a healthier lifestyle. And even rest comes in. You know, I'll leave it for later. I've got a part on sleeping as well. So do hold for me. Do stay tuned. What we are looking at is if your diet is on healthy foods, on healthy lifestyle, it will not add additional stress to it. But always, as I mentioned earlier, start off progressively. Even partner Lucas going for his keto diet, he doesn't immediately jump on it. So start it with just a day a week. Start it out slowly. Okay? Until a certain time, you might know that you can go fully into it, but let your body tell you what is it. Okay? Does that answer your question, Gomez? Alright? Yeah, so a thumbs up. More for Felicia than Gomez, but that's fine. Alright, so maybe we go back to the other slide. Okay, even physical stress, we read about a doctor, his Dr. Brucelli. He works with Mother Teresa in bomb sites in areas where there is constant bombing during those times where they did voluntary work to help people overcome like bomb shelters, to help people curb emotional stress and all this. So he has a study on TRE, which is tension release exercises. So all this you can Google from internet. We can delve into it more. We can dive into it more. We can explain more in our further talks. Okay, just stay tuned. Just one thing. This is one really good example that Dr. Brucelli did was he was talking about when kids and adults, the difference between a kid and an adult when they face with a bomb situation. So what does a kid do, a child does, that is different from an adult during a bomb blast? Okay? They did almost everything the same. They covered their ears, they bent down, they squat, and they did this, and they closed their eyes. So both the adults and the children did exactly this. But the children did one step further. They shiver. So when they shiver, it was stated in Dr. Brucelli's research papers and theories that when they shiver, they release some sort of stress and tension. And that helps them overcome stress faster than adults. Then why aren't the adults doing the shiver? Why aren't the adults doing the shiver when they heard the bomb exploded and they bent down and they want to do all the same actions, but they didn't do the shiver? Why did they do the shiver? Because adults, we have a preconceived mindset that if we were to shiver or if we were to look weak, they're not strong enough, they're not confident enough. We always tend to blindside the areas which make us look weak. So by looking weak, like shivering, or like sharing our weaknesses, is something that adults do best. Because the society do not allow adults to look weak, or do not allow us as adults to want to show that we are weaker or we are lousier. Because society is always about results. If we ever look weak, we are not there, we are not in a certain status in society. So we try to eliminate and eradicate all sorts of weakness and all sorts of things to say, and we always look, like always being like the man, the alpha male and all this. So it was done by the studies of Dr. Brucelli that once the child shivers, it releases more stress and tension, and that helps them get over the pressure and stress of the bomb shock more than adults. So this is just one of the studies. So we have plenty of studies. Do stay tuned. Okay, next, let's go. We're running out of time. Okay, I still have a lot to cover, but just because of time, emotional stress. this is something that some people might think it's not scientifically proven, but we can prove that through certain elements of scientific research. So, of course, emotional stress is something that we are always getting. It's like, sometimes when we smile at our colleagues, whom you know are not really happy with you or have been bad-mouthing you in front of the bosses, smile at them. We just treat it as this is okay. We need our PR skills to survive in our workplace. We do things like, when we worry about our finances, whether is this economic situation going to be dampening for us? Will we be paid fully? Will we be even given our commission? Will we even survive? For bosses like us, we're always worried about cash flow. There are a lot of stuff that's under our good hands, and are we able to keep them going? Especially staff who have stayed long with us. We are really in charge of, or in a way, their lives. We are giving them the salary or the support to support their entire lifestyle, their families, their families and their parents, their kids, education, and all. So we are always constantly having this emotional stress. So emotional stress, if I could look at it, it's more like something that is within us that we tend not to want to try to overcome it. Okay, let me break this down into something simpler. We do have anger with somebody sometimes. That means we are angry or we are sad with a certain colleague who badmouth us, or we are sad and angry with our spouse, sad and angry with our children who are not studying for their exams. Those who have passed PSLE, congrats. But those whose children are still going through exams, you're just angry that they're not focused. They don't care about the examinations, even though it's for their future, it's for their better future. So we tend to be angry and emotionally stretched, and we tend to avoid it. We tend to tell ourselves, let's not scold our spouse for it. Let's just quietly walk away. We can shout at our children for a while, but let's not keep shouting and scolding them to make them feel so stressful that they don't even want to study for their exams. We try to avoid it. Avoiding it will make it come back to you harder. So what happens is the more you avoid, the more they will come back to you and bite you even harder. So what happens? What happens? We have to acknowledge it. The emotions, not the actions. Let me repeat this. We have to acknowledge the emotions, but not the actions. Sometimes, when we get too stressed, we tend to shout, we tend to say things that we will regret. Okay, these are the actions. Don't acknowledge the actions. Acknowledge the emotions. You're angry with that person. You're angry with your children, you're angry with your staff. Acknowledge it. Give yourself some time at the end of the day to acknowledge it. You need to cry, you need to feel sad, let it out. Do it on your own. Do it in your own room. Do it when there's nobody looking at you. Acknowledge the feelings. Don't acknowledge the actions that lead after you're very stressed and you start scolding, or you start getting out of your, getting too crazy and start regretting what you say. Don't acknowledge those actions, but acknowledge the emotions. If you need to feel sad, just feel sad. If you need to feel, it's easy to feel happy. It's easy to feel ecstatic. It's easy to feel enjoyable, but it's hard to feel sad. It's hard to acknowledge that you are sad. So please, at the end of every day, just clear it. Just accept that you are sad over some things and clear it. Make it a habit to do it every night before you sleep. Do it alone in your own space and just have some time to let it go before you sleep. Alright? Another thing about emotional stress. This is something where stress is created by uncertainty. So if I need a marker.
Watermelon.
Behind the watermelon. You all must be wondering what this watermelon is for. It's actually my only audience. Thanks for listening to me. I'll have nobody paying attention to what I'm saying. Only you. Sorry, too dramatic. You always say, don't be so dramatic. Okay, so can you see the board? Am I over? Am I too much?
Push it in.
Push it in?
Okay.
Okay, perfect. Get out the screen. Okay. I can see my pouch. No? Alright. Okay, so first of all, let me look at emotional stress. And if you want to study it further, if you want to take it further, it's something called uncertainty. A lot of stress is created by this word called uncertainty. So what do we need to do? There's this thing called, if you forget everything I mentioned today, just remember these three abbreviation. Okay, these three letters. It's called UEP. Okay, UEP, just remember. Repeat after me.
UEP.
I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Oops. Okay, it's called UEP. Okay. So what's UEP? U stands for uncertainty. Okay, so it's the same word. I copy. Okay, E stands for elimination. And P stands for, can you see the whole screen from here, Felicia?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Procedure. Okay? So what we have here, UEP, uncertainty, elimination, procedure. So a lot of mental stress, a lot of emotional stress we have is due to uncertainty. So we need UEP to help us cope with the uncertainty. So let me break this down further. UEP, what can we do? With UEP. First, if you're in debt, or you realize that during the financial crisis or during this recession period, I've got no money to pay for my lifestyle or for my family or for my things like that. First, write it all down. Okay, first step. Okay, what is the area are you in debt? Number two, what is the amount you are in debt? Number three, how then could you increase your revenue or your money to be able to clear your debt? Number four, probably talk to a debt specialist. Next, talk to a financial person you trust. So there are some areas where we can write down our uncertainties using the UEP and make it certain. So once you make things certain, do you still have fear of uncertainty? No, because it's certain by using the UEP procedure. So if you forget everything I mentioned, just remember UEP. Right now, let me give you an example, another example. So this is for debts, alright? Okay? Another example is on how special am I in my company? Will my company let me go? Will my bosses fire me? Okay, let's look at this. Fire me. First, find time to talk to your boss or your superior. Find time to talk to your manager, your boss, your superior. Find out what he thinks of you. Ask him questions. Find out, does he value you as an employee in the company? What is his perception of you? If you feel otherwise, if he doesn't really care about if he doesn't appreciate what you've done for him, please move on. There's no point being in the company if he doesn't care about you. Right? So, write it all down. Don't have that uncertainty. Don't tell yourself that, oh, I don't know whether my boss like me or not. I don't know if I'm appreciated in the company. I don't know why my salary never increased. You know, why am I always not getting the high commission? Why am I not being promoted? Speak to them. Find time to talk to your boss. Okay? Value you. Does your boss value you? Go in and ask productive questions like, question how you can value add to the company. Then once you find out the answers, it won't be so uncertain. You'll be able to know the certainty of it, and that will bring the cortisol level down. That will make you less stressed over time. That will give you a peace of mind in a way. Okay, hope it's helping. Let's, because of time, oh no! Let me quickly go into the last and final stressor of today. Mental stress. Mental stress is quite similar to emotional stress. Okay, mental stress is something where we look at things and realize that, oh, it's very, very stressful. Oh no, Felicia is preparing something for me, some props. Yeah, oh, what's that? Oh, creep. Mayonnaise. Okay, so mental stress is something where we can start to look at peaceful scenery. We can look at taking a slow walk, meditating, taking a power nap. And one thing about naps and sleeping, as I mentioned earlier, I will touch on this. Okay, naps and sleeping is really important. Okay, let's bring out my best friend or my only supporter for the next talk. How are you doing? Or even he's not talking to me. So, so just quickly on this. How do we look into a scientific approach to this? Very fast. Let's look quickly at. Imagine your brain. Okay, there's a lot of stress build up and waste and pressure and all sorts of things build up in your brain. Okay, can the blood washes your waste off? No, because there's a blood-brain barrier. So because of that, which is the system that washes it off, is the lymphatic system. And what's the lymphatic system? Is where the glia and the lymphocytes join together to wash away the waste in your brain. Okay, this is not biology class, but I'll just quickly go into having a lot of waste and a lot of not mustard. Never tried this before, but there's all these waste. Ew, smells disgusting, but thank God y'all can't smell. So, can't smell from this. Okay, so all the waste in your brain, and this build up every day. Okay, there's no way you can clear this off unless you go into sleep mode. Okay, so the sleep will help the lymphatic system washes and clear off your waste. Yeah, it's a bit slow. You know, the cue wrong. Okay, anyway, this is what happens when you sleep. Okay. Yeah, just treat it as it's washed up, okay? So, hope this explains the waste that goes away from your waste in the brain. Yeah, the waste in the brain that's washed away by the lymphatic system. And a lot of times when you go to, if you feel that there's some problems in your sleep, okay, you can't sleep properly, you can't have a good night's sleep, you tend to wake up in the middle of the night, then go to the sleep doctor. The sleep doctor can do a test for you, and you will know whether you're sleeping throughout the night. You need 8 hours of sleep, but are you really sleeping 8 hours? And if you don't, the waste might not be washed away. And once the waste is not washed away, the adrenal glands know that there's something they have to fight again, and it releases the cortisol again, and it starts to go in and try to come in. And because of that, prolonged work, you will get adrenal fatigue. And we can't even do our usual activities. Waking up, feeling lethargic, and all. So, these are the 4 stresses that we have touched on today. There are many more, and many more to come. Here we are going to have our speech linguistic talks every month. So every month there are different topics. Do let us know what topic you're interested in. We can research and we can share what we know. I hope this helps you today because it's more like a scientific approach. And with the scientific approach, it actually helps us understand how to cope with stress in a better way. Okay, there are some things I touch on today. Maybe you can't register everything. Call us at 9061 1715 to inquire more. I repeat, 9061 1715. Call us and then we can explain more. You can come for our trial classes, can come for anything for parenting talks and things like that. And we'll continue to run this every month. Last but not least, let me end off by saying thank you all once again for being on our live channel. And more importantly, to cope with stress, or to have techniques, is like to learn how to cope with stress is very similar to learning how to cycle for the very first time, or to actually go through your first cooking class or your first sports class. Hey, guys, I'm not over yet. Okay, I'm rushing to end off. Okay, but quickly, 10 years ago, I wasn't exposed to such techniques. I was under the impression that pressure, stress, all this, I have to handle it myself. I have to take more stress to overcome it and become a better employee, to become stronger, and I forgot to know how to release it at certain periods of my life. And because of that, I encounter health problems, I encounter a lot of problems, which I'm very fortunate today. I've learned a couple of techniques, I'm using it every day. So please, do what you see deems fit for you, but remember, it's not something that we have to, it's not rocket science. It's just something that we have to practice every day to ensure that we get into the habit of it. If only, if you don't want, it's fine, but if only you want a successful and healthy life with peace. Okay, no more stress. Not no more stress, you will still feel stressed, but you know how to cope with the stress that comes along the way. So unless you opt out, say no, that's not what I want, let's not practice it, let's not make it a habit. But if that's what you want, let's work on it. Alright, thank you everyone, have a good night, and see you again.